Okay, if everybody could be seated. Ted? Good morning, everybody. I am opening the regular meeting of the Board of Directors for July 31st, 2025. And Deborah, if you could do roll call, please.
Absolutely. Hamaji?
Here.
Bentley?
Here.
Hurt?
Here.
Byram?
Here.
Hildreth?
Here.
Lair?
Here.
Selden?
Here.
Walker?
Here.
Yang?
Here.
And Matheson.
Here.
Are there any changes to the minutes from our regular meeting on June 26th?
No.
Okay, thank you. Showing none, we'll say they're approved. And
Members are entitled to speak during the designated open forum portion of this meeting, whether attending in person or via Zoom. Each speaker is limited to 2 minutes. If speaking on behalf of another member, additional instructions provided on the forum slips must be followed. All speakers must clearly state their full name and Rossmore address before beginning their comments. Please be advised that this meeting is being broadcast and recorded. By attending and participating in this meeting, including during the open forum, each attendee agrees to and releases the Rossmore Walnut Creek from all liability for their voice and or likeness being recorded and broadcast for any lawful purpose without compensation. Thank you.
Okay, is Cindy Silva online?
Good morning. Yes, I am.
Good morning, Cindy. Thank you for coming.
I am so glad I could be here, even though I can't be there in person, but I look forward to it in the future months. A lot to report this month, and I can see you, but you can't see me, I believe. If you can't hear me at any point, somebody needs to say something because I can't tell if you can't hear. So I'll start with crime statistics. We have some good news. Our crime statistics are trending downward over the first part of 2025, and that's good news. The data was made available in mid-July, and I checked again last night, and it's still current, but it's very promising. Residential burglaries are down 74% between January and May over the previous year, which is really good news. And this is important for all of us as we think about how we can keep ourselves safe at home. And so if you need some information on that, the police department has a page on its website on crime prevention tips, and you can get that information at walnutcreekpdca.gov. That's walnutcreekpdca.gov. Also, speaking of our police department, this coming Tuesday, August 5th, Walnut Creek community members will join millions of neighbors across the country for the annual Community Building National Night Out event, which is hosted by our local public safety agencies. The annual event promotes local partnerships between our police, fire, and emergency medical agencies and the community members they serve. And Walnut Creek's event will be at Broadway Plaza next Tuesday evening, August 5th, from 3 to 6 p.m. And you can, if nothing else, you can come out and see how all the equipment operates, which is always very interesting. And you can get your questions answered from the police and fire and emergency medical providers that will be on hand. At our July 15th council meeting, the City Council unanimously approved an outdoor dining grant program to help incentivize restaurants to bring back dining on the downtown streets. Now, you may recall during COVID, not that we all want to think back to it, we want to think forward, but you may recall during COVID, outdoor dining on the street was very, very popular, and it served as an economic lifeline for our local restaurants. Now, once COVID emergency was over, the city developed guidelines for a more permanent program. However, due to a variety of post-COVID challenges ranging from street reconstruction that went on for almost 2 years, employment challenges, and economic pricing constraints, restaurants have been slow to get back outside to outdoor dining. So the grant program we've approved will provide 10 grants of up to $10,000 per restaurant to help with startup costs as long as they get it done and in place before the end of 2025. And more on that will be in an upcoming copy of the Nutshell newsletter. If you've driven outside the gates of Rossmore recently, you've probably seen that the ball field lights at Tice Valley Field are done, and the soccer teams will start playing there in the coming weeks, and they're very excited about it. The project was done a little more quickly than we'd anticipated. Again, thanks to the local voters who approved Measure O in 2022, because funds for that ball field lighting project were, in fact, from Measure O. Registration opens this coming Wednesday, August 6th for fall's arts and recreation classes, camps, and workshops. Now, I know you have a lot of classes and programs at Rossmore, but there are a plethora of other classes that are interested for adults through our arts and recreation program, and they're offered on many venues around the city. And so to look over the catalog, we've gone green and we're only providing it online. You will have to visit the city's website. You can go to walnutcreekartsrec.org and look at what programs that you might be interested in, or family or friends that live outside Rossmore might be interested in. And you can sign up in the coming weeks. It's also, while it's summertime still, we will be back to school. Local school children will be starting school again within the next 2 weeks. So our city road crews have been working very, very diligently over the last couple of months, refreshing the yellow thermoplastic crosswalk markings near our schools. And these thermoplastic markings, they're more vibrant than the normal paint. And they're designed to make it safer for our school children, no matter their age, to be able to either walk or ride a bike to school. It also makes it safer for our drivers to be able to see where those crosswalks are. And this work will be completed in the next 2 weeks, just for in time for school. Speaking of trash and recycling, at our July 24th meeting, the Board of Recycle Smart awarded a 10-year franchise agreement for garbage and recycling collection services to Republic Services. Recycle Smart, as you probably know, is the partnership between Walnut Creek, Danville, Lafayette, Moraga, Orinda, and portions of unincorporated county that manages local garbage recycling and organic services for this area. The new collection contract will begin March 1st, 2027, which gives Republic Services about 18 months to procure new trucks. In fact, most of the existing fleet of vehicles is at least 10 years old and is nearing the end of its useful life. Recycle Smart received the collection we received 2 proposals for the collection services, one from Republic Services and the other from Mount Diablo Resource Recovery, which is based in Pittsburgh. Both proposals were very, very similar and very, very comprehensive, but there was a significant cost difference between Republic Services and Mount Diablo Resources Recovery. In fact, the cost proposal was 14% lower, which over the next 10 years will save ratepayers close to $100 million in charges for those services. We will not know exactly the price, the final price, 2 years from now, because it will depend on what happens with inflation over the next 2 years. But we're looking forward to having a number of new services that will be provided from the new contracts. And I will close by saying this. Original Joe's, which was originally established in 1937 in San Francisco in the North Bay area, it will be opening its Walnut Creek location, which is right outside of Broadway Plaza, by mid-August, and it should be really a great restaurant to welcome to the community. So thank you again for all you do. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, or I can say goodbye and enjoy a good summer day.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy. Anybody have questions for Cindy? Dwight?
Good morning, Cindy.
morning.
Our board is going to be discussing later in the meeting upcoming goals for our board. One of them is a commitment to continued water conservation, and a part of that is supporting regional efforts for recycled water. I'm wondering if the city has heard anything from Central San or East Bay Mud in regards to any planning or something coming down the pipeline, if you will, for recycled water.
Not in the way that you hear about it in other parts of the world, but they continue to have a commitment to pursuing programs and making recycled water available. But there is nothing in the near term because of the infrastructure requirements. So I haven't heard of anything. I think they're more committed, East Bay Mud and Central San, into making sure that their existing infrastructure, much of which is 100 years old, it continues to function well.
Okay, thank you.
Ted?
Good morning, Cindy. You mentioned about the crime rate being down 74% this year. Is that
That's residential crime theft.
Yes. Is that a countywide or a statewide trend, or is it because our staffing level of our police department is at what point right now?
Well, we are fully staffed. We had the 5 additional officers that were and that Measure O enabled us to hire. Our positions are staffed, but at no point are there not vacancies. People get injured in the police department frequently, or they have other outage reasons for being off. It's not. That number is really substantial, isn't it?
Yes.
For all crime across the city, it's down 2%. So I should have said that first, and then said, and this great number is the residential number. What they attribute it to is if they were successfully able to apprehend and arrest a gang of burglars, and who will basically, a gang of them will be responsible for lots of burglaries, not just one. So when you take care of one, you take care of a lot of potential crime. So that is what it's attributed to.
Thank you.
So good policing work, crime prevention work.
Absolutely. Any other questions for Cindy? Thank you, Cindy. I just want to thank you for mentioning the night out on Tuesday the 5th. That's always a great event, and I encourage residents to participate in that. But I think we're done. Thank you very much, Cindy.
Good luck in your conversations.
Okay.
Take care.
Very good. Adrian, did you want to launch the financial status report?
Sure. You have in your packet the financials through June. The format has changed a little bit, and it will continue to change as we refine it with the new tools available to us. Key thing about the financials right now is that our net income, bottom line, we're actually substantially ahead of what we budgeted. That's due to both a certain amount of, if you go to second page, I think it's the second page, third page. The expenses have been somewhat under, and the revenue has been somewhat over. Some of those results are due to seasonality. We haven't spent money that we expect to spend in the next half of the year, and going forward in 2026. The budget will be adjusted to be seasonal, so these kinds of numbers will actually be more meaningful than they are right now. But the key point is that we are in good financial state. And with that, I'll turn it over to Todd, who can gild the lily for us.
with what Adrian is saying, we'll continue to have reporting refinements as we move forward. Also, I think we've talked about this every time. The budget variance, right, is obviously meaningful, but because we have a lot of straight line budget practices, it doesn't necessarily speak to seasonality. And so there can be expenses in the fall that are still, that surplus isn't something we can take to the bank yet, right? However, very favorable where we are right now. I'm also very happy that we're caught up and that we're, where we're supposed to be now with June financials, and we're looking at current numbers, and we'll be closed July on time going forward. So that's really exciting. I think a couple things I do want to note that actually are really favorable. We did get our insurance rebate check back for $1.25 million. So that check was deposited in July. Our share of that is around $100,000. So that will be posted in this month. And also, if we look at the insurance detail from the expense side, under D&O and under general liability, there were 2 accruals that were not reversed in June, which is $275,000. So that's a favorable reversal you'll see in July, and those are due to pending litigation bills that are just out there. So they book and then they get reversed. So that reversal didn't happen in June. So that's actually favorable. So you'll see about a $375,000 addition in July, right? So that's good news. So very favorable. I think the key takeaways are no real surprises here, right? I would just speak on the reporting. It came up in the meeting. We're trying to align the summary reports with the verbiage and nomenclature from the NetSuite output. So when you see gross profit, that's an actual accurate accounting term, but so we do have cost of sales. It has nothing to do that we're trying to make a profit. It's just an accounting term. So we're trying to align it so there's better continuity when you read the detail to the top line summary reports. I think that as we move into August, right tomorrow, August 1st, so right into the middle of budget season. And the really exciting thing for me right now is the workday piece, because now that we have all the June financials current and closed, that data's already in Workday. We've already written reports. We already basically can do a better, if we look at last year's budgeting conversations, that how do we forecast the year in accurately, right? And so this year's gonna be very different for that. So as we look at the surplus, as we roll into next month, we're gonna actually have a forecast on here as well that will speak to that surplus in more context and have a lot more meat to it in terms of what that variance represents. So that's really exciting. I mean, all the tools and all the investments and all the patience of the board and the community, we're going to really start seeing the payoff from all that, including the comprehensive financial package, which will include the balance sheet and will include the cash flow statement that we haven't had in the past. And so some more robust reporting. Obviously, we're at a place right now that because we have all the core data, we're actually writing some of the executive summary reports that come right out of the system and provide the board with like a treasurer's report or a CFO report that actually kind of speaks to all the key metrics that are on the financial side, from fund balances to the balance sheet metrics and some other things. So that's forthcoming, which I think will be really good versus just trying to slog through the detail. So a lot of good stuff happening there. Really just going through the actual report. I think you're familiar with this, other than we did flip the budget and actual column. So it is different from last month, just because once again, obviously, I know Dwight mentioned it last month, but also it flows also with how the NetSuite output is, right? So once again, it ties to what you're looking at on the detail. The variance is just a variance, right? So we get into this a little bit in the finance committee meeting, but on revenue side, it's positive is good. And on the expense side, if you're under expended, it's negative, which is good, but it's the same formula throughout. So we're not gonna right now mess with changing signs on that variance if it's a revenue or an expense. So really, I don't know, I mean, unless there's specific questions on RWC, I mean, we're just right now in a pretty good place financially, right? With what we expected to the budget. We're actually, we're under on personnel. Yes, there's some switching between temp help and some overtime certainly on my team that wasn't budgeted, but that's often offset by open positions and other savings. So we're on track with personnel. looking across all the big major operating expenses, you can see we're quite favorable with a lot of them coming in on the admin side. And the rest of them are pretty, given the total, there's some ups and downs, but nothing that I would say from a variance standpoint that just jump out and say we really should cause concern at this time. But then once again, I think when we do our first real forecast and bring that to the board, it will really be a powerful number in terms of what we're actually looking at for a year end. All right. And then of course, all the detail in directly out of NetSuite now that you can look through. Are there any questions on the RWC side? Janet?
I just have a question about the insurance rebate. So you mentioned 100,000. Does that mean 100,000 goes to RWC and the rest divides
Is just allocated
out
across
to
the mutuals.
the mutual?
Yeah, that's
And
correct.
Will the mutuals know that figure before the budget meetings?
Yes.
Okay,
They will.
great.
Yep. Good question. Okay. Very similar commentary on Rossmore Property Management. Let me just get there. Can you go ahead and just open that other RPM attachment? Or is it on the top? Okay, here we go. Okay, so on the Rossmore Property Management side, very similar conversation. We still, once again, budget pretty much everything 1/12, 1/12, 1/12. So that surplus, even though it's a great number, until we get the forecast and actually look at what our true expenditures are going to be in the third and fourth quarter and plug those in, we don't really have a really good idea. I mean, we have a good idea that we're not going to be over budget, but we don't know exactly how much that surplus is going to carry forward, right? And let's see. This one even has a lot of smaller variances to budget. I would say if anything, we look at our billable services and reserves, those actually have picked up, and that's that $100,000 positive variance there. And then everything else on RPM is, once again, the labor is right in line with where we expected. So once again, some open positions that we are awfully actively going to fill, but I think it's pretty much right on line with where we expected. But it's really nice to actually see it validated now with June financials close versus being in arrears that we have been. So, any questions?
All right, any questions for Todd? Dwight?
Thank you for getting current, and congratulations to you and your staff, and
Yeah.
please pass along our thanks to all of
Absolutely.
them. I look forward to a current balance sheet.
I do
It would
too.
be nice. I look forward to the external audit being completed, and
Yep.
I understand that's in the offing, is that correct?
Yep, it's, we just met with McCarran, the team yesterday, so we should have the draft document on the 18th, which is scheduled for the board's final review this month and approval.
Okay.
And obviously, that's a key piece for our budgeting cycle, for finalizing the balance sheets, for, actually looking at and closing what the numbers results for last year, if there was a surplus. So real critical piece of our equation that is forthcoming here in the next 2 weeks.
And Todd, we haven't seen a capital fund activity report recently.
Yeah.
Will we see that next
You will
month?
see that. I've been waiting for June close. I mean, I need to get caught up on all the invoices too to see what's actually been spent.
Okay.
So now with the June financials, and we're actually having a meeting this week on it. Sherry has pretty much caught up all her numbers. So we'll have a good review for that now that we have June financials. And that'll also tie into the forecast, right? So we can look at what we're expecting on that.
Thank you.
How that capital may flow over in terms of what's left this year.
And by the way, as a member of the Marketing Task Force Police, thank you for changing the names on most of the reports. You're almost there, but understand that some of them will take some time.
Some of the NetSuite ones are going to be phase 3, but we'll
Right.
get there.
Thank you.
We'll get there. Yeah,
Any other questions for Todd? Okay, thanks very much, Todd.
you bet. I just want to speak real quick to one other attachment in here. You
Sure.
know, obviously, that we don't have the balance sheet yet, but I think it's real important on the cash side, right? And so what I did this month was, can you pull up the cash one? I don't know where that is. I went ahead and included just the last 3 months of cash balances, just so you can see across the organization where our cash is April, May, June, so you can see that, you know, when we talk about how we're operating that surplus, you know, without going back into the past, we're going to get better and better in terms of cash reporting. Obviously, we need to still have that investment strategy conversation. Right now, the feds are still held the rate, so we're in a good place with that. But just to kind of show you our ongoing bank balances, I know Adrian and Dan both wanted to see the history of the balances, so we're going to kind of do a rolling 90 days so you guys can see the current cash balances. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry, I was engrossed. Thank you, Todd. Thank you again. Jeff, could you go ahead with your GM report, please?
I can. Good morning, everybody. So this past Wednesday, there was an insert in the Rossmore News that hopefully everybody saw. It is about the 14 ways residents can communicate and relay opinions to the staff and Rossmore Walnut Creek Board. And it also details 17 ways that the board and staff communicate with residents. This was kind of the brainchild of Leanne, so it was a good idea, and really want to thank Ann Peterson and her staff for putting this together. It was a good effort. You know, communication is so vital in everything that we do, in the programs and services that we provide, but getting the opinions, the questions, the ideas from residents and members is so vital. So this was a good document that I encourage everybody to take a look at, and not just look at, but take advantage of. I actually had the first resident reach out and meet with me yesterday based on this. So hopefully that will continue. Recently, there has been a few articles in the paper, letters to the editor regarding the food and beverage study that is ongoing. I know there's some discussion about that, so I just wanted to briefly mention, I don't know what is going on there. So over the past few weeks, again, there's been some of those mentions. The RWC board has engaged the professional services of Synergy Restaurant Consultants to study the demand in detail, the opportunities for expanded food service and beverage service within the Rossmore community. Synergy has issued their findings and their final report that has been presented to the Planning Committee. The findings indicate that there is demand and viability for expanded food and beverage service within Rossmore. This service would be with one identified operating partner. So we're not looking at having multiple restaurants operating and competing with each other. This is one coordinated food and beverage service that is operated by one partner. To initiate things, there is a RFP that has been designed to identify an operator for the Creekside facilities. The current lease for that facility comes up at the end of the year. So once this operator is established, then they can look at, and we can work with them on expansion of food and beverage operations to other locations within the community. So it will be a long-term effort to expand food and beverage opportunities working with that one selected partner. I did want to make a note in regards to the owners of the Creekside Bar and Grill. They have been the sole operator since the Creekside Clubhouse opened in 2010. The lease agreement with the current operator has taken various forms over the years. So initially, the lease agreement was based on a low rent in exchange for lower than market rate pricing on their menu items. And we worked together on pricing and on selection of items. Over the years, that lease agreement has moved to a more traditional lease and is based on the demand and so forth. So there is a full market rate lease in place with the current operator that includes rent as well as utilities. We are encouraged and continue to encourage the existing operator to submit a proposal. They are welcome to be part of this RFP process. The study that was done by Synergy was not a referendum on the existing operator. We are just looking for new ways to expand. So we look forward to Creekside participating in the process. In terms of employee transitions, we had 3 employees that left employment in June. Karen Caruth, who was our longtime member records coordinator, Daniel Pemberton, network administrator, and Lek Raj, who was a longtime golf course equipment operator 3. And we had 3 employees who were rehired or transferred to new positions in June. Luis Dunez transitioned from carpenter foreman to building maintenance manager. He took Clayton Clark's place. Jory Robinson moved from executive services to become a reservation coordinator in recreation. And Ken Rodell advanced from the technical support specialist to network administrator in information services. So a lot of good growth within the company. And that's my report.
Very good. Any questions for Jeff? Dwight.
So Jeff, for those of us who don't receive a printed newspaper because we're trying to save the trees, is there an electronic version of the insert that you held up that must be
There is
available?
availability, and Ann's going to come tell you how to get a hold of that.
Ann Peterson will speak to that.
So there is a digital copy. If you go to the Rossmore Walnut Creek page, that's the governance page on rossmore.com, you'll find a beautiful little PDF that you can scroll through, download, print, and there's a link you can email it to your friends. If you like to read the paper as the e-edition, but you want a physical copy, we also have copies of the brochure at Gateway and the news office.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Ann. Mary, do we have any speakers?
We have no participants in the member forum in presence. Do we have any online, Deborah?
Yes, we do. We have, I believe, 1 speaker, and I am going to unmute you. You have 2 minutes to speak. Go ahead, handle name Barry Bryan.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Barry Bryan, 3874 Terra Granada Drive, 3C. I thank the board for their service as RWC board members. On Monday, you received the preliminary results of a brief survey that the Rossmore Life Council sent to Rossmore residents. This was done in part to share the community's thinking about the contemplated change from residents forum to members forum in the Rossmore News. There is such a wealth of wisdom and life experience collectively in Rossmore residents. You can look over their comments to help inform your own thoughts on this subject in preparation for your vote. After all, the collective wisdom of the people is the basis for our entire political system. It is hard to argue that Rossmoreans' collective opinions outside of elections should be ignored. Let me repeat that. It is hard to argue that Rossmoreans' collective opinions outside of elections should be ignored. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the member forum.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to item 8 on the agenda, the resident member committee reports, and we'll begin with aquatics and the fitness advisory committee. So Barry Devine, if you could give us a quick summary.
I will try to make it quick. Good morning to the board members and professional staff and fellow residents who are here this morning. The Aquatics and Fitness Advisory Committee met on July 10th and welcomed 3 new members to our committee. They are Gary Miller, Cynthia Davis, and Joan Boyle. We elected a vice chair and got our secretary in place. And we were pleased to see that several fitness center staff received lots of votes by residents under the most favored employees category. In particular, I'd mention Patty Lewis on the staffing desk, instructors Bob Harve, Terry Hummel, Nora Pelota, and Kathleen Lamport, as well as Adam Cleary among the staff. It was noted that 2 yoga instructors left our staff recently, but we have not been able to replace them at this time. We feel that the lack of yoga is a significant loss for our program currently, and we hope to have a position open and advertised by the time we meet next month in September. The Tice Creek Pool replastering is expected to be scheduled soon, hopefully to be completed before the outdoor pools are closed. It'll allow our swimmers to have some facility while that is undertaken. Lifeguards are strategizing with management to prevent residents from running on wet decks. Sounds like a problem with children. They get so excited they want to run, and of course it's not a safe action to be walking or running on wet decks. The Wall of Fame, which we've conducted for many, many months and years in the Tice Valley Fitness Center, is we're going to have a new focus, recognizing residents who have successfully used our fitness programs to improve their quality of life and overcoming personal challenges. Stories of progress, such as individuals recovering from strokes, are worthy of receiving perhaps more than just competitive athletic accomplishments. And so this is underway as we speak. A subcommittee has been appointed to work out logistics so that candidates can be nominated from the population at large. The committee our committee has agreed entirely that we would change the name from Wall of Fame to Rossmore Fitness Journeys. The chair requested staff and report that our September 11th meeting address the following issues. How are individuals selected for video presentation on Rossmore TV? How are massage providers contracted to serve our residents? We would like a clarification of fee-based offerings as opposed to non-fee-based classes, often the same class, and in each case well supported by numbers. And lastly, how are staffing budgets related to full-time or part-time appointments? For example, if somebody is terminated or retires as a full-time employee, does that make it possible to hire multiple part-time employees? Our next meeting is scheduled for September the 11th, and that's the end of my report unless you have any questions.
I have a question. If a resident, I'm very interested in the new definition of the wall, and I applaud you for doing that. If a resident wanted to nominate someone for that wall, how would they do that?
Well, we're developing a form for that. We have to be sure that the person being nominated is willing to be nominated. Some people would rather be low profile and not have that notoriety. And then they'll be able to do that at the center and on the website as well. Yeah.
Very good.
The final details of that should be forthcoming at our next session.
Okay, great. Any questions for Barry? All right, thanks very much, Barry.
My pleasure.
We'll move on to Finance Committee. Dan Ring, if you could give us your summary.
Good morning. The Finance Committee had our meeting on Tuesday. Ken Johnson of Arthur J. Gallagher presented a comprehensive update of Rossmore's Walnut Creek 2026 insurance renewal strategy. One of the key items discussed was Gallagher recommending moving RWC's insurance renewal date from January 1 to June 1st, starting in 2026. This will entail some analysis by Todd's group, as it will have an impact on cash flows as the insurance premiums are due when the policies are placed, meaning that there will be a large cash outlay in January and then again in June 2026 before going back to annually in 2027. Mr. Johnson also stated that due to a softening in the market, it is expected our 2026 premiums will decrease from our 2025 premiums. You guys have already talked about the statements and the importance of the surplus not really being a true surplus, and Todd's working on getting that better. The MTF sales that generate a fee for June were less than May, and we're still ahead of 2024, but our surplus that we built in the first 3 months is basically down to nothing. Ms. Mottola presented a recommendation to the Finance Committee regarding the 2025 slurry seal proposal. After a brief discussion, a motion was made and seconded to recommend to the RWC Board to approve an expenditure not to exceed $294,000 from the operating budget and authorizing the General Manager to execute the contract with Silicon Valley Paving, Inc. for slurry seal projects. The motion passed unanimously. And also presented a recommendation for the Finance Committee to consider entering into a 3-year professional service agreement with Consor for capital project management services in an amount not to exceed $80,000 annually. She explained that this agreement is replacing another agreement due to retirement of that individual. This consultant would focus on technical project oversight, contract coordination, timeline management, and scope enforcement, tasks that require dedicated attention beyond the current staffing levels can support. A motion was made and seconded to recommend to the RWC Board to authorize the General Manager to execute a 3-year professional service agreement with Consor for capital project management in an amount not to exceed $80,000 per year. That motion passed unanimously. Unless there's questions, that's all I have.
Any questions for Dan? Okay, great report. Thanks,
Thank you.
Dan. All right, we'll move on to the Golf Advisory Committee. Burke Ferrari.
Good morning. Good morning. I have 3 things I want to talk about. First off is the club memberships. Second is the golf course marshals, and then a quick recap on the 6 months to date. Through July, the men's club has 316 members. The women's 18ers has 131, the women's 9ers 161, and the Happy Hackers 140. That totaled 748 versus 793 at the same period in 2024. So there's a decrease of 45 people. The 2 ladies' clubs combined to an increase of 1. The men's club lost 16, and the Happy Hackers lost 30. The Happy Hackers are a club, if you didn't play golf and you thought you'd like to try it and meet some new people and have some social activities, you join the Happy Hackers. And what happened to them, according to the representative, is that they changed their dues this year from $15 to $30, and a lot of the people apparently who were joining basically for social purposes, they said they didn't want to renew. So it is what it is. At the meeting, at the GAC meeting this month, we approved a new golf course marshal. So for the people who might not know what a golf course marshal is, I just want to go through that briefly, who they are, what do they do, and so forth. There are 6 regular marshals plus a chief marshal. You can consider them as the eyes and ears of the golf shop, but they're out on the course. So they travel around daily in a golf cart, and they're there if the golf shop needs something to be done on the course, they'll contact the marshal. The 6 marshals, there's 3 men and 3 women. They are appointed by the GAC for 3-year terms, which are renewable. They are all volunteers. In exchange for their service, they're allowed to play golf for free. Each one of the 6 is assigned a particular day of the week. So, and that is on a schedule that's developed by the chief marshal. And they serve from 9 a.m. in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. And they cover both courses, and they'll be in their own golf cart, or the golf cart's provided, they'll just drive around. So what do they do, or what's their function? There is a document called Golf Advisory Subcommittee for Golf Course Marshals, which talks about how they're appointed and so forth. But I just want to read the thing about their role. It says, the role of the marshals is not one of authority over other residents, but rather that of monitoring and reporting. Marshals are not to confront golfers or make demands on them, other than providing polite reminders of the rules applicable to play and care of the golf course and practice areas. Any failures to adhere to the rules should be reported to the director of golf or his and her staff for response and follow-up. So basically, what they'll do, they're out there making sure that pace of play is maintained. Pace of play means as you're playing, you're supposed to keep up with the group in front of you so that it keeps going. For instance, in the wintertime, when the course is wet, there may be you have to go on the cart path only, so they'll be monitoring that. If you lose a club on the course, you might call the shop and say, could you have the marshal go around and see if he could find the club for me? Or if your cart breaks down, you can call and somebody can come out and give you some help. So basically, that's what it is. The final thing I wanted to talk about was, since it's 6 months now, the rounds played, and this is all in your packet, I think, that comes from Mark, 36,500 rounds versus 33,100 last year, so that's up by 10%. And total cash receipts, on the course and in the shop, 1,328,000 versus 1,137,000 last year. That's an increase of 16.7%. So golf at Rossmore is very healthy. So you should all be proud of your wonderful golf course. That's all I have. Any questions?
Any questions for, Burke? Ted?
Ted. So notice when you said the clubs are down this year over last year, but it doesn't mean that the players are not playing golf. And you kind of said it at the end right there, that the revenue is up and our guest tickets are way up too. It seems like we have a lot more people coming in from the outside to enjoy the golf course now than we had before.
Right. If you look at all of the factors going into the amount of play, they're all up. We have the program where outsiders can purchase for a membership. It's not a membership, but the ability to play. And that number is limited, but as soon as every year when Mark puts that up, it fills up almost immediately. There's a lot of people who would want to play here. So everything's very positive.
I just had a question about safety. Is it the marshals or would it be staff that goes and speaks to someone who might be walking on the course during playtime? Who handles that?
Yeah, interesting, because there was an article on the front page of the newspaper just recently about walkers on the golf course. If there are walkers on the golf course, it's more than likely that some of the players will notice that. Because remember, there's only one marshal every day, and he's got the full golf course. So if you see a walker on the golf course, what we would do is call the shop, say there's somebody walking on the course, and send the marshal over, and the marshal will come over and remind them that there's signs all over on every access to the golf course. There's a sign that says walkers only on Monday, and I would suspect that they would give them a ride off the golf course. if that's convenient, But yeah, that's how that would be handled.
All right, that's great. Thank you very much. All right, thank you, Burke.
All right, thank you.
We'll move on to the board committee reports, and compensation is Arnold's here. Arnold is our new director of human resources. I'm sorry.
You want me to give a report?
What?
You want me to give the report from the committee?
Oh, I'm sorry. Carol, we'll start with you with the compensation committee. I apologize.
Okay. So the compensation committee met on July 16th, and Arnold gave us a detailed staff report. And then the committee discussed 3 separate items regarding salary concerns. So we first discussed the base rate increase for 2026, and the June CPIU index for the Bay Area was up slightly from April, but it only went up to 1.5%. So after discussion and concern that this figure would be insufficient, the committee voted to recommend a conservative 2% base wage increase. The second discussion centered around the establishment of a merit market pool adjustment, and that would be used to recognize exemplary staff performance and or to make adjustments to wages as needed, as driven by changes in job market demands. The initial recommendation was for a $150,000 pool, but after a very lively discussion, the committee settled on recommending a $115,000 pool, which was up only $5,000 from the $110,000 of 2025. And finally, the committee recommended a 2% wage increase for the general manager. That's consistent with the proposed increase for other staff. And as with any recommendations, the board can approve different amounts, but these were the recommendations from the committee. So Arnold is here to discuss and answer any questions that we might have.
Good morning, everyone. So yeah, like Carol mentioned, so a little bit of the background, how compensation works. Since 2017, we've based our annual wage increases on the Consumer Price Index for the San Francisco Bay Area. Using the April's number. As Carol mentioned, the April number was only 1.3%, so the committee decided to wait for the numbers that come up in June, but that slightly went up to only 0.2%, which came up to 1.5%. Then the committee expressed concerns that these figures appear artificially low due to broader economic volatility, and the committee recommended an increase of 2%. For staff-based wage increases and planning purposes, budget planning purposes.
As far as the base wage increase, are there any questions for Arnold right now? Did you have a question for Carol?
I had a question concerning the merit pool.
Okay,
Yeah.
Let's wait a moment for that. Are there any questions about item 9A1 at this point? All right, is there a motion? Carol?
I move that the board approves a 2% base wage increase for the 2026 budget planning as recommended by the compensation committee.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mary seconds. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Deborah.
Certainly. Hamachi?
Yes?
Bentley?
Yes.
Hurt?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Hildreth?
Yes.
Lair?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
And Ying?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay. We'll move on to item 9A2, which is 2% in relation to the general manager. Arnold, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, that is correct. Briefly, so the general manager's salary is reviewed separately since it's governed by a contract with RWC. So the committee recommends budgeting a 2% increase aligned with the staff-based wage increases as well.
Any questions on that? Dwight?
I'd like to make a motion.
Sure.
So I move that funds be allocated in 2026 operating budget to allow a 2% increase in the general manager wages consistent with the increase approved for non-collective bargaining employees.
Okay, do
I'll
we have a
second.
second? Ted seconds. Any further discussion? All right, roll call, Deborah?
Certainly. Hamachi?
Yes?
Bentley?
Yes.
Hurt?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Hildreth?
Yes.
Lair?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes?
And Yang.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, now Arnold, could you address the merit market pool adjustment?
Yes, definitely. So for the merit market pool, we also recommend continuing to fund the merit and market adjustment pool. This pool supports performance-based rewards and ensures we stay competitive with the job market. It also allows us to make adjustments, wage adjustments, if our internal compensation bands increase after job evaluations. If an employee falls below that minimum of the new band, that will increase, so we can use this pool to bring them up to the required levels as well.
Okay, any questions on that? Adrian?
Yes, so how many employees last year were affected by this pool?
That were below the...
Well, whom you gave an adjustment to out of this pool?
So pretty much after all employees receive their regular wage increases at the beginning of the year, but then we also recognize employees that, exemplary employees that do a great job and they perform better or excellent. So some of that fund goes to some employees as well. And it's the majority. I mean, it's a discussion with the senior staff in conjunction with the general manager as well to see who these employees will be.
Okay, I was just interested in the number roughly. I mean, is it 100 employees benefit from this, or 5, or what's the?
I don't have an exact number, but I can go back to that. But I can tell you right now that at the beginning of the year, 70% of that fund is spent.
Okay, that was my second question.
Yeah.
Was how much of that?
70 to 77%.
Okay, thank you.
Roy, thanks. Roy, you also had a question?
Yes. I saw right now the first 6 months, and because the red color on the budget, defense is the personnel expenses. I do not object to have a performance-based pool, but I think the management need to make them more open in a closed session with the board members, either by person's performance or special achievement, so we know what we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Arnold, is this fund also used if the employee's wage it falls below the band to bring them up to the minimum part of the band?
That is correct. After doing the market evaluation, so we have to adjust the bands based on some key roles and positions that we have, and let's say our bands will increase, say, 5% next year, and then we only are base increasing a 3%. It's an example. So then the employee is going to be short, or that position will be short 2%, so we'll have to use that money to
So this is the fund
adjust.
that allows and permits for that increase.
Because that employee may not meet the threshold at the minimum
Thank you.
band. Yeah.
And Carol?
Regarding the adjustment of the bands, next year, do you anticipate certain positions really needing that adjustment?
Yes, definitely. There are some key roles like IT systems analysts. Then there is some other positions, executive assistants, counseling. So there needs to be a broader study on this specific position, so they may be affected next year, and that's where we'll be using that money as well.
And just to follow up, so we're only giving a 2% base.
Correct.
And if you're anticipating, say, 5%, that could really
impact the full
impact
amount.
this fund.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions? Janet?
So let's just say they run out of money the first 6 months of next year, I mean, is there a way to come back to the board and request more, or will this be a done deal for 2026?
So this is built into the operating budget. So whatever this fund is when it's approved is what we work within that parameter to make any adjustments that need to be made. We do, there is an employee evaluation process that takes place during the last quarter of the year. We utilize that process to recognize, based on that performance, in employees. So we utilize this fund for that, but we always make sure that we don't utilize the entire amount right up front. We save it because we know throughout the year there's going to be a need for other adjustments. So as Arnold mentioned, we've utilized about 70% of it thus far. The remainder will be used in case we need to make adjustments throughout the year to positions, to help with recruitment, to retain, and so forth.
And I assume managers are in constant communication about that in relation to the balance of the pool, and that there's a review.
Absolutely.
That is correct.
Okay. Carol.
Last year, the base wage increase was 3.8%.
Yep.
And yet, we still raised that merit market pool from 100,000 to 110. So that was a 10% increase. I really worry that an extra $5,000 is not going to be enough when you consider that we're only giving a 2% increase. And when you think about the merit pool, if an employee works 2,080 hours in a year, if you give one employee a $1 a year, $1 an hour raise, then you've used up $2,080. And so if we're only increasing by $5,000, really that takes care of 2 employees.
Close to 2 employees, yes.
So I really think we need to consider raising this, this number.
Could I make a comment?
Yes.
As Carol noted, we had a discussion about this at the committee level, and there was concern expressed because of the staff's recommendation for an increase to 140, 150, and we really compromised at 115. But I would also have to say that I would be comfortable with a somewhat higher amount than what we have. I'm not suggesting an amount, but I am concerned that this is low, given the fact that other indices that you use, Arnold, are talking about 3.5 increase in various, HR compensation. So it's something that I would consider as well.
Ted, and then I think Roy had a question, and then Dwight.
So this might be for Jeff because it's more of a history question. Each year we look at this merit raise that comes up. Have we, in the past 5 years, not been able to manage within the amount that the board has set forth? Have we kind of blown it up any year, or has it been something that we've been able to work with on the amount recommended for us to approve each year?
So the amount that is allocated is a budget amount that gives us our parameters for what we need to work within. So once that is established, we know our parameters. We certainly use it strategically to make sure we're continually able to maintain and recruit staffing, and we've reported on that. The overall compensation management system that's been in place for many years, I think, has been tremendously successful in maintaining our staffing levels and being able to recruit and pay employees in their bands within the median of the market. So I think it's been very successful. We have been able to maintain. The reason for the increase recommendation from staff to the compensation committee really was based on that concern of the CPIU being so low, when we all know when you go to the grocery store, you feel that impact. And then also the fact that the employment cost index, as Janet just mentioned, was 3.5%. So that means the cost to recruit and maintain employees has risen more significantly than the CPIU. So to answer your question, yes, we maintain within whatever is allocated, because that is our parameter and guardrail. So whatever the board decides is what we will maintain.
Okay, Roy?
Could I have a follow-up on that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Has that ever created a problem with us not being able to make a bandwidth that we were supposed to be at, and maybe someone leaves? Like, I think when carpenters exploded and it went up a whole bunch and we had trouble having carpenters here, is that something that wasn't covered in that amount that we approved before? Because we don't want people to, we don't want a particular department to have a substantial increase in wages across the area, where people are attracted to go to work other places and not work for us. So that's kind of where I was going with that.
I think we do have tools that we can make adjustments based on if there is significant market shift within a particular category or classification of a job. So if just for example, accounting positions, there's a high demand for accounting positions, so they're a little bit harder to come by. You see their wage adjustments maybe go up higher than what you see as average. We are able to make adjustments within departments kind of as needed, and there hasn't been limitations on our organization based on whatever amount that the board authorizes.
Right.
I'm looking at several things, and like you guys worry about, it's maybe not enough. On the other hand, that one to be more closely watched. My suggestion is, if we approve, we should attach an amendment that is quarterly. We should, in our closed session, have some idea about what this fund budget being used for, either to the performance in certain way, or the market rate, or some other reasons, and so the board understand what's going on. Thank you.
Okay, Dwight, and then Mary.
So just to clarify, Arnold, the pool that we're talking about is only for the RWC side of the business, does not include RPM, correct?
Correct.
Right. So personnel expenses are projected over $15 million for RWC. Seems to me we have lots of wiggle room to work within that, and anything above a 2% increase is hits the coupon. And we need to be aware overall that COLA adjustments for Social Security are now projected somewhere north of 2% going forward. Anything that we do, every single budget line item that we think is okay to go over 2% is an increase to the coupon that our residents get very concerned about. And so while this item is fairly small, it's more of a philosophical discussion of us maintaining as much flexibility as we can to offer the services that we need to offer with a reasonable cost. So I do not support any increase beyond the $115,000 recommended.
Okay, Mary?
From a perspective point of view, and I can't be completely accurate on this, but Arnold, I believe in the last few years, there have been years when we did not use the entire merit pool. Am I correct?
Well, the merit market pool is being used most of the years, and there's been a couple years where we went over what was allocated due to changes in some of these key roles and their responsibilities for each specific position as well. A little bit of history also, like a few years back, we needed to hire more news carriers and we were not competitive with the market, so we had to present to the board for an approval in those wage increases as well.
Can you tell us how much of the merit pool was used for bonuses versus changing the bands?
I don't have those numbers with me right now, but I can definitely pull them and present them to you guys.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we have the agenda states recommending $115,000 for the adjustment. Do we have a motion for that?
So I was initially supposed to move 115,000, and I'm happy to make a motion and see how it goes. I move that we recommend that the board approves $120,000 merit market adjustment pool for 2026 to support staff performance recognition and wage competitiveness.
And Carol seconds it. Any further discussion? I just want to point out that is substantially above 5% increase. Okay. Roy?
My concern again, even it's raised to 120,000, but I want to see a transparency. So I think quarterly in the closed session, we are aware of what this fund being used for is necessary for the board.
Okay. Any further discussion? We have a motion on the floor. Deborah, roll call, please.
Alrighty. Hamaji?
No.
Bentley?
No.
Hurt?
No.
Byram?
Yes.
Hildreth?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Walker?
No.
Yang?
Conditional yes if we have quarterly review.
I need yes or no.
Then it's no.
Okay. It fails.
Sorry, thank you, Dwight. I'll make the motion that we recommend that the board approve the 115,000 merit market adjustment pool for 2026 to support staff performance and wage competitiveness.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Dwight seconds. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Deborah.
Certainly. Hamaji?
Yes?
Bentley?
Yes.
Hurt?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Hildreth?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Yang?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay. Thank you, Susan. Okay, Arnold, thank you very much for the
Thank you so much.
explanations. We greatly
No problem.
appreciate
Anytime.
that. Okay, we're going to move on to the Planning Committee. And Dwight, do you have a report?
I do. So while the July Planning Committee meeting was exhilarating, I want to let you know that August is going to be over the top. We have a full agenda including pickleball, resident services, system software, rossmore.com, and other topics. It's also important that you know that there's been a scheduling change, and the August meeting will be held on Tuesday, August 12th at 10:30 in the Gateway Boardroom. The committee is in the process of working with staff to evolve the 2022 Facilities Master Plan into a current 10-year spending plan to allow for project prioritization and funding requirements. As a part of that process, Janet Selden and I are working on documenting the capital project process, while Adrian Byram and Ted Bentley are developing a decision matrix to assist in the prioritization of capital projects. The capital budget effort will kick off in October after the RWC operating budget is completed. That's my report.
Very good. Any questions for Dwight? Okay, thanks very much. At this point, I think we'll take a 5-minute break before we start into the SMART goals. So we'll return at 10:18. Thank you. Okay, we're all seated. Thank you. Jeff, if you could launch the SMART goals discussion.
Okay, so during the June 10th retreat of the board came up with a number of ideas for SMART goals for the board calendar year that runs 25 into 26. These are typically goals, they're not project driven per se, they are more policy type goals and direction for the board and the community. Sometimes they lead into budgetary considerations for either operating or the capital budget as well. Once the board generates kind of that list of potential items, it comes back to you, and at your last meeting, you worked through those and identified a total of 4 that you wanted to proceed with. Those 4 included water conservation, which is an ongoing goal that the board has had in the previous year. Developing metrics for community services for measuring performance. Insurance, working with both the task force and the finance committee on supporting and continuing to develop options for expanding and providing coverage. And then legislative advocacy, which is also a continuation of a previous board goal initiative, and that is to bring to light to elected officials various items that are impacting Rossmore Walnut Creek. These goals that you identified have been put into what we call our SMART goal format, which you see on the screen here. There is one sheet for each goal, and it identifies the goal and then objectives to take throughout the year. The first one being water conservation. So it's continued to exploring water saving strategies, including non-functional turf removal and promoting access to recycled water. The main area that we have left for non-functional turf removal is still on the golf course. The medians have been removed. So this is evaluating turf reduction opportunities on the golf course. This one would lead to recommendations for capital projects. And the second component of this is to continue advocacy for regional solutions to developing recycled water opportunities that may benefit Rossmore. And this is kind of the question that Dwight asked of Cindy earlier. So that would be the various components of this SMART goal.
Okay, go ahead, Dwight.
So I just wonder if we don't need to add consideration of the future of lawn bowling in this water conservation goal.
So just to clarify what that is, we have had discussions in the planning committee on a capital study to do with converting the lawn bowling greens to artificial turf for savings of not only water, but maintenance on those as well, but also to evaluate that area in terms of overall usage and demands.
I would be in favor of adding that as another item.
So I think in objective 1, if we could just add where it says evaluate turf reduction options and resulting water savings on the 2 golf courses and lawn bowling.
We could do that.
Thank you.
The second one has to do with metrics, with the goal being to begin to identifying and implementing methods to measure the use and effectiveness of community services, programs, and amenities. This is one that has been discussed with the committee and at finance as well. There are several steps to this that we have outlined through the objectives that are listed, including evaluate and, as a step 1, evaluate and determine the desired outcomes based on the use of metrics for amenities, programs, and services. So really identifying what is it that the board wants to use, the committees want to use this information for. Why are we collecting this information? And then the second objective, identify tools for collecting data associated with the identified metrics. So how are we going to effectively collect all of this information? And then moving into begin collecting the relevant data and developing draft quarterly reports that we can present to planning, finance, and the board. And then finally, objective 4, final report is implemented, collecting relevant data, and we're in the process of ongoing, and then that information could be used for decision-making purposes. Any questions or
Any
comments
questions
about
about
this
that
one?
metric or that objective? Okay.
Okay. The next one is in relation to insurance, with the goal being in coordination and support of the insurance task force, evaluate and pursue options to address insurance costs, including exploring changing to the renewal timing and broader community strategies. The objectives would be to support recommendations from the insurance task force to move the renewal date to a 6/1 date. Objective 2, explore opportunities for pooling policies with other Leisure World or Rossmore communities. And then objective 3, evaluate costs and coverage options for earthquake coverage for RWC assets. And we started kind of with that with a presentation yesterday or Tuesday at the Finance Committee. Is there any questions on the insurance?
So I had a question about objective number 3. Under completion expected. So you're expecting that to be the initial presentation to be done prior to the budgeting process?
So that's why we initiated that on Tuesday with the Finance Committee. We'll then be bringing back coverage options with cost estimates for the RWC assets.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I personally couldn't attend last meeting, but I think we overlooked one of the most important things, fire safety at Rossmore, and it's unfortunately not included. However, we're going to try to reduce the insurance. Then maybe we should partially consider to do something. One of is the monitoring system. Right now, the system we have is powered by PG&E. In a fire, that doesn't going to be functioning anymore. So we need a solar-based, and the California so-called Alert California.
Roy, I'm going to interrupt and bring the conversation back to the goals that we're talking about. That's a topic that we can talk about at another meeting if you want to
Well,
bring
if
that
we
up.
set a meeting for that, I will be glad we go to talk about it. I have a lot of things prepared for that, and I like that every board director understand what's going on.
Okay, I'm making a note. Thank you. Any other questions on the insurance goal? Okay.
Okay, and then the last is legislative advocacy. This is to maintain active engagement with legislators on issues of importance to Rossmore and the mutuals, including insurance, fire prevention, and public safety. Objective 1, maintain positive relations with the city of Walnut Creek. Objective 2, keep elected officials informed of issues concerning and impacting Rossmore. And that would be done through a committee. We are starting to discuss that at this point as well for the current year.
Adrian?
Okay, I agree with this this goal in terms of the city of Walnut Creek, but there are other agencies that impact us. For example, CCTA, the fire department, Contra Costa Fire Department, and such. So why wouldn't we also involve or include those agencies in this goal?
So we definitely would include other public agencies, but also elected officials. But we can list specifically if you want Central Sand, East Bay Mud, Contra Costa Fire District, if you'd like to add actual public agencies on there.
I think we could add something about public officials and agencies.
Well, there's a couple of them. I mean, the fire department, Contra Costa Fire, they chose, for example, to impose this requirement that you inspect every fire extinguisher. Okay, and all the mutuals. And there's hundreds of fire extinguishers, and each mutual has to either get a volunteer to go around and do that, or pay RPM, a small fee to do that. Okay. Why did? Okay, and so why did they come up with that? If we had had a better relationship with them, maybe we could have explained to them that really doesn't make sense. I don't know. What I'm trying to point out is that these agencies can do something that we are totally unaware of and can then suddenly affect us. And so it'd be useful if we had a better liaison relationship with several of those agencies, and we actively worked at that constantly.
Okay, so what verbiage would you recommend?
Can I make a quick comment?
Mm-hmm.
And I know Jeroen is in the audience, but I think that Con Fire has pulled back on that requirement for the monthly inspections. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
I do think it's a good idea to have Con Fire, East Bay Mud, and a couple of other agencies, I'm trying to think of other ones listed specifically, because they do have an impact on what's going on here.
Yeah. And so I would simply want to add, maintain positive relations with the city of Walnut Creek, Con Fire, and East Bay Mud.
I think that's fine, and I would add a general category, because it may expand beyond the categories or the names or the agencies that we specify. So, Con Fire, other agencies.
I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but just to clarify, we have a really, really good relationship with all those agencies right now, and the particular situation you're talking about, those agencies have to enforce state fire code and building code with the city and some other codes that they don't really have choice over, which that was kind of one of those situations. But we do have good relationships.
Okay, Janet?
I'm also thinking about the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac problem, and I know the insurance task force has actually met with legislatures specifically about our mortgage crisis, but I'm wondering if there's something we can add to that addresses that particular issue, our mortgage crisis issue here.
I believe that falls in objective number 2. We had a task force that met with government officials before, and they had a menu of topics, and that was part of the topic.
I'm just wondering if you want to add some of those topics, just so it's clear why we're meeting with them, this is just a, overall basic objective, but I don't know if you want to add specifics to it or not.
I personally think that the objective should stay kind of high level, but know that is probably going to be one of the topics, so. Roy.
I think we probably need more time to consider about this, because there are many things are missing, and the board director should have a chance to review more details and to decide it.
Are you saying that you
I'm
don't think
saying
these...
postpone, give us some time. We're going to review it in next 30 days. Then we come out with something better to be acceptable by every director.
Roy, we've gone through a process of choosing the goals, and I think we're at a point where we can make a decision if we want to go with these SMART goals. So. And Dwight.
Maybe to address Adrian's concern, objective 1, where it says maintain positive relations with the city of Walnut Creek, we could add an appropriate agencies affecting the community.
Yes.
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Thank you. All right. Jeff, do we vote on each individually, or do we vote as a whole?
So you can vote on it as a package with the amendments that you made to the two.
Okay. Any further discussion on the goals?
I have.
Yeah, right.
I against it. We should be not by a package. We should be item by item. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion if nobody else wants to.
Okay.
So I move that we adopt the SMART goals for the 25-26 board year as outlined in the agenda packet and as amended.
I second.
Ted seconds. Any further discussion? All right, roll call, please, Deborah.
Certainly. Hamaji?
Yes?
Bentley?
Yes.
Hurt?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Hildreth?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes?
Yang?
No.
It carries.
Okay, thank you. Ann Peterson, could you speak to us about policy 601.2?
You bet. So this is the second reading of a recommendation made by the Policy Committee to change language in Policy 601.2 from letters are accepted from Rossmore residents to letters are accepted from RWC members only. If we made this change, you would be also changing throughout the policy residents forum to members forum. So the Policy Committee made this recommendation for essentially three reasons. The first being that they wanted it to be consistent with the change that was voted on by the board to change residents forum to members forum at the meetings. They were concerned about confusion of having separate ones for the meeting and the newspaper. The second was to put it in line with the trust agreement, which is put in place for the mutuals and their members. And the third reason was because there were some members of the committee who wanted the opinion from the community to come from the stakeholders. A couple things to note. First of all, the legal requirement of members only talking during public comments is for meetings only. It is not a legal requirement for the newspaper. A question came up the last time, and I just want to say again, this will not change staff time. Already, we are checking for the status of residents, so we would simply be changing it from checking resident status to member status. And there was a comment made at the Policy Committee about who was objecting to the idea of changing this, wanting to keep the opinions open to everyone in the community. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Ann? Okay.
Well, I don't have a
Susan?
question as much as just a comment. And first of all, I'd like to thank and acknowledge all the work in this wonderful brochure that was prepared about communication, so that was really wonderful to see. But I would like to acknowledge that I would like to retain the current policy of members and residents. I think it provides an opportunity for broader Rossmore community to participate in a community dialogue. We know from Ann's report last time that we're only a couple of non-members who reported anyway, so you could say, well, nobody's going to be hurt, but on the other hand, very few residents are taking advantage of it, so I don't think there would be much harm there. I think the concern about consistency, is it members, is it residents, I think that's not a significant concern and people will adjust to that. So I just hope we can see this as an opportunity to develop, continue to develop community spirit by not accepting this change, recommended change.
Okay, thank you, Susan. I think that I agreed to an extent, and I don't think there's a problem here. So I think that we can let the policy stand as is. But Janet?
Yeah, I just want to agree with what Susan said. I'm in agreement.
Ted?
Well, I disagree. I don't think that that people who don't permanently live here, permanently vested in what is going on in Rossmore, should have a say-so to state what they think should be done from an outside person. I just don't think it's a right thing to do. We have a number of people who lease places in here. We have a number of people who have older children living with them that are not members of Rossmore, that will, and frankly, I don't think that they should have a say-so in what we do here and push us in any direction that they want to push in, depending on what is the hot item in the news now, and they should have a say-so. I just don't think that they should. I don't care about their opinion is what I'm trying to say. It should only be, we need, the members forum is about members' concern about what is happening in Rossmore. This is a Rossmore paper. It's not a nationwide paper. It is about what's happening here, and I think only members should be able to do it. That's my opinion.
Mary, and then Ted.
Thank you. I find that the distinguishing between the member forum at board meetings and the wider meetings, the newspaper is important, because member forum to me here at the board meeting, these are people who have a direct ownership and they are distinguished from the residents. But we do have residents here, and what they experience is important to me to understand. So I'm hoping that we'll keep the policy the way it was.
If I can make a suggestion too, one thing that we could add to the newspaper in our guidelines is to explain that residents forum is for the residents, and then specify that it isn't members only. That might help a little on the confusion between meetings and the paper as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to make 2 points. One is that we have a number of residents paying the facilities usage fee so that they are entitled to all of the amenities and all the things that we have to offer at Rossmore. They should have the ability to write a letter to the paper. They may not be able to make comments at a business meeting because they're not a member. And I said it last meeting, I would say it again, our newspaper is a community newspaper, and we should be open to all members of the community.
Okay, Roy?
I think there are some basics being overlooked. Members, of course, will pay coupons. Non-members, even the renters, in their rents, they still indirectly paying the coupons. So the newspaper has to remember, it is basically supported by coupon money. Yes, you get some advertisement and all this, but if the coupon money goes away, there's no newspaper. So I think we should keep it as it was. Just let everybody to express. We are matured people. We are not going to be dumped to be misled. Okay, thank you.
I just want to clarify too, we aren't just talking about renters here. Other residents are co-occupants, so they could be a child living with a parent or a caregiver who is live-in. So just so that it's clear what we're talking about with residents.
Thank you. All right, is there a motion? Okay.
I move that we reject the recommendation from the policy committee to revise policy 601.2.
Just a question on procedure here. Do we need a motion to not change something?
Yes, because this is the second reading. It's before the board. So
okay.
Just to give closure and community awareness of what you agreed to.
Okay. So we have a second from Mary. And could you just repeat the motion? Just so everybody understands.
Sure. Consider revising policy 601.2 to change letters are accepted from Rossmore residents to letters are accepted from RWC members only. If that changes, then replace residents forum with members forum throughout the policy.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
I meant Dwight's motion.
Dwight's motion.
But Ann, thank you for trying. Yeah. Do you have it, Deborah?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
So it's a motion was made and seconded to reject the recommendation by the policy committee and to the revisions made and the amendments made to the policy. So that was the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Roy? I'm sorry, could you use your mic?
I suppose your proposal.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Certainly. Hamaji?
Yes.
Bentley?
No.
Kurt?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Hildreth?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
And Yang?
Yes.
It carries.
Okay, thank you, Ann. Now we'll move on to new business. Deborah, could you give us the overview of 11A?
Absolutely. So we need an additional individual to fulfill the quorum or membership numbers for the audit committee. A past member, Mark Neiman, applied for the additional opening to help with the fulfilling the charter. Mark Neiman was interviewed by the president of the board, the treasurer of the board, and the chair of the audit committee, and his resume is attached. He will receive a letter after this meeting as to the board's decision, but this recommendation is coming from the president to appoint Mark Neiman to the audit committee for a 3-year term effective immediately.
Okay, do we have a motion on that?
I move that the board approve the appointment of Mark Neiman to the audit committee for a 3-year term, effective immediately.
I can second that.
Susan seconds. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Yes. Hamaji?
Yes?
Bentley?
Yes.
Hurt?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Hildreth?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
And Yang?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to 11B on the agenda, and that's to consider a slurry seal expenditure. Ann Matola.
Good morning. So today staff's requesting approval of an expenditure not to exceed $294,000 from the operating budget and to authorize the general manager to execute a contract with Silicon Valley Paving to perform annual slurry sealing. So annually, we do tend to take track of segments of road that we're observing, try to gauge the ones that are showing the most severe signs of weathering, raveling, and other surface damage that, if we don't mitigate, can lead to more costly repairs. So the map shows the 4 sections of road identified this year for slurry seal. So there are sections of Tice Creek Drive and Oakmont Drive, as well as Oakmont Way and Pine Knoll Drive. We sent this project out for bid and received 3 bids back, and the lowest bid came from Silicon Valley Paving at $266,970. With contingency, the not-to-exceed amount for this project is $294,000. And again, Silicon Valley Paving Company is a known company. They've worked in our valley quite successfully on many projects in the past. So pending approval of this project, staff will coordinate communication with residents living in these areas that will be impacted by the project so that they're notified well in advance of the disruption before the work starts. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Janet.
Can you explain how you decide to replace a road versus the slurry, which I understand is covering the road? How do you make that determination?
So we probably need to present to you a whole bunch of pavement program education that we did with the board over the last couple of years. But there's different types of signs of wear on a road, and depending on the nature of what that deterioration is, sometimes it's too far gone and you have to repave it. But some of these other types of things that we're seeing, just a slurry seal will kind of keep it and retain the integrity much longer before further deterioration happens. But there are a whole bunch of fancy terms for the type of things and patterns that you look for.
to gauge it.
Mary?
If I remember correctly, that when you did this presentation, the wonderful word that we all became aware of was called alligatoring.
Yes. Yeah, and it looks just like the word sounds like, that kind of pattern in the road.
Okay, Roy?
Yeah, I have a really serious consideration about this. And I propose this thing, let's have a close review before we go ahead for it. First, next year budget, number one item, we have a $900,000 pavement budget going to be approved for it. And second, Jack mentioned on January 3rd of 2024, we have to make the things affordable. And I actually tripped several streets this morning. I do not see anything need to be done. I might be wrong. And so I suggest that maybe we have 3 directors. We go take a look at it and then see what the things talking about. And this, and also, I have a lot of problem with Silicon Valley's work. And in 2023, the board approved some emergency repair, and then President Walker has requested multiple bids on March 30th, 2023. However, I was called by some engineers on April 14th about something they already started doing, so there's no multiple bids. And all the way it has been done is done wrong. And then 2024, in March, they tried to open 3 manholes on Golden Ring Road on the south side between Tice Creek and Ackerman Way. And they actually did 2, and the third one, they were in the wrong place. They have to cover it up, and because they didn't really calculate it right. They're off about 15 feet. So what I'm saying is we should have a chance to find out what is this about it. Then we'll go consider to be approved or not.
Ann, could you speak to how these areas are evaluated as far as needs?
So Martine Lemons is our trust manager, and I don't know if he's listening in. I can tell you what his process is. So this isn't something which is done one time a year. It's done on a regular basis. And let me tell you about some of the dynamics that can really sneak up on you. So last year, if you remember, we had a capital project budget for pavement. So I'm just talking about roads in general. I know we're talking about operating budget, but this is a really good example of you have to monitor these things constantly, because sometimes certain signs and symptoms of road deterioration will suddenly pop up, and that's a sign of failure. So last year, when we came to the board to prioritize pavement projects, the priorities that we had did not include, by the way, the exit lane to the gate. Martine is out there pretty much every week inspecting roads, looking for these telltale signs because it's dynamic. And we have a lot of road, and we actually have a really good program. Our roads are at our higher level consistently than many of the communities that you drive through these days. So what he's doing is looking for those signs and symptoms for failure, or looking for the ones where they're heavily trafficked, or they're in spaces where we really want to take care of it because we know we can preserve it for much longer. What we saw in that exit lane was this you kind of see like the sand, like the base layer starts kind of rising up, and that's a really good telltale sign that is going to start to fail immediately to real severe failure, which had to be replaced. Unfortunately, we replaced it before another season of weather and rain that can really kind of cause that stuff to become a hazardous situation. So it's a constant evaluation. Again, it's like a doctor, you're looking at signs and symptoms, and you're kind of shifting the priorities.
Okay, any other questions for Ann? All right, is there Roy?
If you have constant monitoring, I would like you to disclose the monitoring logbook to us so we know what's going on. And I do have things prepared for if we have the time to watch on this, what went wrong with Silicon Valley pavement. And also, as I mentioned about it, they doing something on pavement, it's okay. Slurry, it's a different mixture of concrete. It wouldn't last long, okay? It is just temporary for leveling. That's the main purpose. So I do not know why we need that, but I'm open that let's evaluate to decide if we do need it or we don't need it.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion to approve an expenditure not to exceed $294,000 from the operating budget and authorize the general manager to execute the contract with Silicon Valley Paving for slurry seal projects on the roads mentioned on the map.
Okay, Annie, and Carol seconds. Any further discussion? All right, roll call, please, Deborah.
Absolutely. Hamaji?
Yes.
Bentley?
Yes.
Hurt?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Hildreth?
Yes.
Lair?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Yang?
No.
It carries.
Okay, we'll move on to new business 11C, which is considering a service agreement with Consor. Anne, if you could give us that summary.
Great. So capital projects at Rossmore, they're managed kind of by a team, including myself, Martine Lemons, and a contract project manager. And for about the last 10 years, we worked with a gentleman by the name of Fred Ponce, who's, I would say, quasi-retiring. He's really kind of downscale the work that he does. And so we find ourselves in need of that new expertise to fill the void, to guide us through some of the more technical projects. And so we've identified this firm, Consor, and we've attached a profile. I do want to give a little bit more background. I had some conversations after the Finance Committee, and I do think it's worth mentioning what's a little bit different about this type of an agreement or relationship versus the one we had with Fred. And first, I want to talk about the team. So Consor it's actually a multinational infrastructure engineering company, and they have offices throughout the U.S. as well. This particular team, it's led by someone who was the principal planner and engineer for the city of Mountain View. And just that experience alone had a lot of same infrastructure amenities and recreational amenities, including golf bridges, crossing creeks and whatnot, like a lot of very much the same types of projects that we're dealing here. And also, there's a tremendous amount of experience in managing the vertical construction. And that type of expertise, it's really important to bring in an expert with that, because they help us manage cost of those programs. So this contract, just to be clear, and I really want to make this distinction, what we really need to replace in this contract are those on-call services to help us with all of that work we're doing to ramp up before we go to construction. So many of the projects, as you know, we're doing these scoping studies, feasibility studies, coordinating with different regulatory agencies. And this company will help navigate through all of that stuff, probably to the point we start to bid out a project. And I will want to make the distinction that when we go to construction, not all projects need this type of expertise to manage those projects, but on those projects, for instance, the pickleball, you will see like a separate amendment come through, because that tends to be a little bit more layered, a little bit more time intensive, and we don't want to dig too much into the 80,000 on a project which is going to be kind of relatively short and then lose the money for the rest of the year. So what I will say is this will really be taking care of the things in the transfer of the projects with the golf bridges, where Fred has been providing this expert facilitation of the many environmental agencies that like to get their hands on our creeks and things happening around them. And then when we bring the pickleball package, you'll see another line item for the additional project management for that. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Janet.
What other projects, can you give us an example besides the Creek Bridge, would you be using this company for?
So right now it's the Creek Bridge and the Lake Liner. Those are the only ones that are actively moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dwight.
So just to clarify, and these are all a part of capital projects.
Correct.
This is not coupon money being spent, and it's only used as needed.
Correct.
And so it's not an obligation to spend $80,000. It's an obligation by this company to provide services as we need them for capital projects only.
Correct.
Okay.
And the funding is there, so on call we can call them without the delay, which can be like a month or more to take a an approval to the board.
Okay, Susan and then Mary.
Just wanted to understand if this scope of work had been submitted to through a request for proposal process. We're not looking at any other bids to do this work. I'm a little concerned about that.
Well, we didn't do that, and I would say part of it was the timing. Part of that, quite honestly, when you're working on these types of services, you look for people that you can build a relationship, you know the quality of their work. Full disclosure, I have firsthand understanding of the way this company works, and I think through the RFP proposal, people can tell you things, will they deliver? And because of the efficiency, and I would say somewhat the velocity of the projects that we have going, we wanted to do this as a sole source. And we, again, if there's no satisfaction with the work, we do have the ability to decline it. I will say the averaging, if you look at the way this is structured, we have a team with us, and it gives us access to a number of different disciplines that as a sole provider, Fred didn't offer, and the averaging of the fees is about the same. So Fred's hourly rate, if you average those, we were paying the same. So it's not really a monetary difference for those smaller projects.
And I think you explained to us that even though it's a 3-year contract, it can be terminated.
At any time.
At any time.
Was Fred on a multi-year contract? Fred Ponce?
I can't remember if it was multi-year or...
I believe we had him on a 3-year, our relationship with him began with the fitness center, and then we had a separation for a while, and then he came back.
Okay.
Can
Any
I
other
make one
questions,
other
Susan?
comment? It's more of a comment. And I understand the need for specific technical expertise, and I also want to acknowledge the Finance Committee's endorsement of this proposal. I'm just concerned that we didn't have a process to see if anyone in Contra Costa County had this expertise, and I would hope that sometimes we can look for experts in Contra Costa County to work with. This firm isn't based in Contra Costa County, so I'm just concerned about the process. I'm sure they'll provide expert work.
Yeah, and I can also, I mean, so let me put it this way. The way this is structured as well, we could still kind of cast a net and try to see if other people are out there. Our engineer firm that we work with a lot, BKF, we went to them to see if we could find another Fred. That's what we said. Can we find another owner, representative, project manager? In the pool out there, the consulting pool is thin because you have a lot of people that have specific expertise. So you'll have people that work just with sewer systems. You'll have people that'll just do vertical. And so we wanted to find somebody that was more multidisciplined. All that being, so it wasn't like completely in a vacuum, but all that being said, if you wanted us to do something, to put feelers out there and do a process, we can do that.
Okay, any other questions? Do we have a motion?
Wait a second.
Roy, you have a motion?
I just want to make sure I understand correct. In other words, you're just asking for a budget. And as far as to who the firm going to be in the future to do something, we still have the flexibility at Rossmore. We are not bounded by just one firm. And I believe Susan mentions correct. Someone in San Francisco, that traffic is overhead we have to pay. If a county level, then our overhead were much less.
So just to be clear, what's before you right now is a recommendation for authorizing a 3-year professional services agreement with Consor for an amount not to exceed $80,000. That's what's before you right now. As Ann mentioned, that contract can be terminated at any time if we find that their services are not cost effective, not efficient, not responsive. If we want to just decide to take another stab and get other proposals, we can do that. When we go vertical with a project like pickleball, we will be bringing back to you a separate project management agreement for that.
Mary.
What would be the drawback of instead of approving this now, time-wise or other, and going through a process of looking at various things? What would be the drawback that we would be putting in place if we didn't approve this now?
It's delaying a number of projects, including pickleball.
I think the fact that we can bow out makes me feel much better. So I'm in favor of the.
Yeah. I mean, I think a key aspect of this is it's they're under contract to us, essentially. We can say, give us services. If we decide to ask somebody else to give us services, we can do so. They can't sue us because we talked to the next guy over, okay? So it doesn't bind us in any way. It binds them, as far as I understand.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Do we have a motion?
Let me make a motion here. I move that the board approve or authorize the general manager to execute a 3-year professional services agreement with Consor for capital project management in an amount not to exceed $80,000 a year.
I'll second. I want to second.
I think I heard Dwight's voice first, so we'll say Dwight second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Deborah.
Certainly. Hamaji?
Yes?
Bentley?
Yes.
Hurt?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Hildreth?
No.
Lair?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
And Yang?
No.
It carries.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Ann. All right, just a few announcements. There will not be a mid-month regular meeting during the month of August, and the next board meeting will be held on Thursday, August 28th, here at Peacock Hall at 9 o'clock, and also on Zoom. And now we will recess to executive session. Thank you, everybody.